The following program contains adult language, poor taste in jokes, racial slurs, political slurs, slants, and all sorts of things that, if you are sensitive and have a delicate constitution, you should probably go watch Teletubbies. You were warned.
I ain't drunk, I'm just drinking. But you're so high. Oh man, you know I ain't high. But you're so high. Yeah, well I just take a little sip every now and then. But you're so high. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Oh, come on now, you all don't feel like that.
Bam! Hey kids, welcome back. Alright, so what we're going to do today, tonight, whatever, is we're going to do, there it is. Gotta have that. We're going to run through a Nitro Engine teardown and cleaning. It's not really a rebuild, but a lot of times you don't need to rebuild one. So, a couple tips here. I have a bunch of engines I need to do. Here's a boat engine that's in really good shape that I need to go through that one. And we're going to go through today my Rossi. Look at this thing. This thing is the Ducati of Nitro engines. I bought a car off of eBay and threw it away because I didn't want the car. It was a beast. Just a really old buggy. But the guy had put a Rossi in it and was selling it cheap. So I thought, bam, here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do, whenever you get an engine in a used car, used boat, whatever the case may be, it's a really good idea, really good math to tear this thing down, right? Just to make sure that everything is copacetic, there's nothing grimy and gross in there. This one does turn over. Clutch is okay. Bearings are beautiful. Look at that. That's awesome. It does turn over, but I can feel it's a little gooey, okay? The first thing we're going to do, and it doesn't really matter the order, but I am going to pull off the header. Maybe. Oh, these fucking... Wow, standard screws. That's gay. Hang on. Standard Allens. Ugh. It's an Italian engine. It's not supposed to have that. All right, so we're going to tear off the header. Here, we're going to do a complete tear down and cleaning. And I'm just going to show you how I do this. Everybody has a way. Everybody has a method, of course. You know, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has two and they stink. Something like that. I don't know. All right, so they're off with the header we go. Set that aside. And we're going to use a screw pan just to, the bed, to make things a little easier. Get that crap out of there. All right, and then we're going to pop the head. The head on this guy, I don't know if you can see this or not, but the head is a flat blade. They are not, you probably can't see that, but they are flat-bladed screws, which I absolutely fucking hate. So I'm going to try, we might look to see if I've got hex heads. Yeah, whatever. So this is an Italian engine. This is a 1512, yeah. So this is, a buggy or an on-road engine. The car that I'm going to put this in is probably going to be a street car on-road. Because it's going to have, the smaller the engine in most cases, kind of like quads, right? If you do, and I think I said this in the other video I did on Nitro engines, kind of like quads in the sense of, like, if you guys are building an 1104 motor or 14.0 whatever motor, those RPMs tend to run higher, or the KV, if you will, than a 2203. It's the same principle. Usually, the smaller the engine, Jesus, this is why I hate flat blades. Usually, the smaller the engine, the higher the RPM. Not always, but you know, you put a 28 against this thing, and this thing's going to kill it on RPM. The 28 is going to have more horsepower, of course. All right, so there's the head. And we are going to take those out. There's that. Beautiful. This engine is not in bad shape. Now, one of the things you really need to be careful of, where's my pick, are these head shims. if you look right here, there is, well, looks like one head shim right there. You want to be very careful. Those are aluminum, and they will very easily bend and break. The head shim of a nitro engine controls the compression factor. So you can actually delete your, minimize your compression, which sometimes you want to, believe it or not, by adding a shim there, or you can give it more compression sometimes by taking a shim out, depending on what it has. We're going to test the glow plug in this. This might be one I put in. Oops, shit. There you go. Got the head out. I'll take the glow plug out too, but good, good, good. We're going to take an 8mm hex. Again, be very careful. Oh shit, can't get it out now. That's okay. We'll get that out in a minute. Be very, very careful not to fuck up or lose those shims. We're going to set that off to the side. That looks like it's in good shape. You can see, and you can't feel it because it's a video, but you see that slime right there? It's the consistency of honey. Nasty, nasty shit. Now, what we're going to do with this, I can feel it. It's like this real, nastiness. What we're going to do is we're going to take the carb off first, but we need to get the sleeve out. This is a very nice sleeve. It's very thick. Very cool. And we got to take this whole thing apart to clean it. Sometimes what you can do, we're going to take the crankcase cover off the back. Sometimes what you can do, if the engine's like this one and it's not in horrible shape, okay, like this one turns over by itself, turns over freely, you can get away, hang on, there you go, you can get away with soaking it in nitro fuel, which I think is reasonably expensive. When you consider nitro fuel is like $35 a fucking gallon, that's if you find it cheap. Or you can soak it in about the same thing, kerosene, okay? It will not hurt your seals. It will not, just soak it overnight, throw it in a bucket of kerosene or nitro fuel, and there you go. I don't like doing it that way because you still have all the sludge in there and it's nastiness and whatever. So we're going to pop this off. Nice. This is a very clean engine. By used standards, this is very, very clean. It's very sticky though. See that? Watch. See? That you do not want. That is bad. That adds friction and grime and everything. Ugh, yuck. And everything else. I keep in the garage for this type of stuff. And you guys have seen this before. I use Lysol wipes. And if there's this dual action one, sound like Martha fucking Stewart here, that are kind of gritty. They're like, I don't know, they got like a texture to them. Work really good for getting that slime off your hands. So now, the next thing we're going to do is we have got to loosen this carb nut, because this is a tapered carb sleeve. And let's see, am I lucky? No, of course not. Sometimes you can get away with your fancy-dancy weird wrench. Love my fancy-dancy weird wrench. Socket's easier, of course. There we go. Now, the cat who had this before me, the car that I pitched that this was in, it was actually a good car. It was just really old and outdated, and it was probably going to get really hard. It was a buggy. It was a two-wheel drive dirt buggy. But yeah, it was just, I got the car so cheap, and I think the person that sold it wasn't the original owner, but the car was actually set up well. So I know for a fact that the person knew something about what they were doing. Now, sometimes you get lucky. This person sealed the carb to the crank with this sealant, okay, RTV or whatever. But that's not bad, believe it or not. But the one thing you need to do, this is a taper lock pin, okay? See how there's just a nut and a deadhead on the other side. So what you do with that is take a nut driver or whatever you want, screwdriver, and on the nut side, give it a tap, and it should free. Then you should be able to rotate your carb, gently pull it off. You don't want to scar up that barrel if you can help it. Ah, come on, bitch. It's got some honey in there. Let's see, make sure our nuts, no, nuts loose. See if we can get that taper lock to open up a little bit more. Usually what I do is I open the nut up so it's almost all the way up, but still on. Do that. Yeah. Come on. Again, this is where soaking the shit comes in handy. Let's take pliers and gently, just so we get a little bit more persuasion on it. Nope, it's not coming through. So what we're going to do now, we're going to try to take out the taper lock pin. Maybe that will give us a little bit more leeway on the engine. So to do this, pretty much the same principle. Yes, I'm just being lazy. I've got a socket that'll fit this. We'll use a socket to put it back together. But okay, we're going to do the same principle. We're going to take a hex driver. We're going to tap this. Oof. Yeah, that's not so good. All right. Let's see. Do it a little bit harder. It is not coming out. All right, but it should be loose enough. Okay, so that's what years of gum do to it. A couple things we can do at this point. I'm going to actually try to get it back in. We're going to spray it. Shit, where's my WD-40? I bet it's outside. Motherfucker. That's okay. I know, I cuss too much, whatever. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of 3-in-1 household oil. I use this shit for everything. It's great. It's basically Marvel mystery oil. Same stuff. Marvel's better. All right, so, and we're going to try to gently push this back in. Be sure not to hit the idle adjustment screw. Like that, a little bit. Okay, and one of the things we can do, at least we got some motion on her now. Yeah, it's a shame I can't get that pin up. That's okay. These pins that hold in this taper lock of the carb collar usually don't come out real well. What they do is they slide the pin in and then they bore it after it slides in. So sometimes they're keyed. I'm assuming this one is. What we're going to do is we're going to take my heat gun, just this one, not a real heat gun. This is a heat shrink gun. And we're going to heat this up. It's going to do two things. We're going to heat it up on the case. The two things it's going to do is if there's any goo in there, which there obviously is, it's going to loosen that up. But it's also going to expand the crankcase and give us a little bit more room. So I'm going to do that off camera just because I don't want this video to be 6 hours long. So be right back. All right, quite easy. I literally only had the video paused for about 40 seconds. This was a good one, popped right out. So I put the oil, it didn't scar it up, which is good. Looks good. We're gonna have to get this off. This is the old RTV that the previous owner had. Ouch, shit, on there. That's easy enough to get off. We'll just razor blade that off, that's easier. The carb itself isn't too terribly gooey, not bad. We will pull the needles and we'll flush this or soak it or something. So let's get back to this. Now, what we're gonna do now, hopefully, yeah, see, just by heating it up, it even loosened that piston sleeve up. What we wanna do now is get the piston sleeve out. So what we're gonna do, hang on. We're going to see how glued up this is. To get the crankshaft out, or the connecting rod out, what we're going to have to do is pull the sleeve first. The sleeve is this bit right here. So you see those ports down in there? We are going to take a zip strip and slide it into that port. Sometimes this even works. Maybe. Okay. Then we're going to turn the flywheel. Ah, you bitch. There it goes. It cut it. But you see, it lifted the sleeve. Well, it's stuck in there, though, so you got to make sure you get that out. Let's see. That looks like a ringed pin. But anyway, see how the sleeve lifted up? Now it's safe to take a screwdriver, gently, maybe. There we go. Little gooey. The best bet you can do, see the timing mark or the clocking mark? And there's a pin right below there. That's how you're going to put it back together. The best bet is to try to pull this directly straight out. Somebody's already had this out before. You can see where it's dinged up. Oh, man. Honey. Got some honey. That's okay. So you don't want to, if you can get away from it, you don't want to twist it if you don't have to, okay? You don't want to scar up anything in here or distort the cylinder sleeve. Shouldn't need a ton of heat. There we go. Beautimus. Now, see that? That's slimy nastiness. Gross. It's a very thick sleeve. This is a very well-made engine. Usually sleeves are really, really thin. This thing's like fucking shotgun shell. It's really nice. So now what we're going to do, we're going to break it down to top, bottom, center. Bottom, dead center, I should say. We're going to take a needle nose fucking pliers if I can find one. Okay, here we go. We're going to pull this out, hopefully. Hopefully. Damn it. Again, he says, damn it. So now we got to figure out a clever way to get this out. This should pull right up, but again, you want to be gentle. You don't want to scar anything up, because one of the tricks to these things, there's that piece of zip strip. Now you're going to come out. One of the tricks to these things is you don't want to, even if you think, okay, I can scar a connecting rod because, you know, who cares? The problem with that is you can throw your engine out of balance. And that is bad too. Then it vibrates like a bitch. So what we're going to do now, I suppose we're going to have to heat that up too. Okay. But you can see that discoloration in there. It looks like varnish. That's basically what fuel turns into. You can see it on the top of the piston too. Okay, so I'm going to heat that up as well. And hopefully that works. Whew, getting hot. Okay, that engine I did the other day, oh my God, what a bitch. What are we gonna do with you? It is definitely turning better. Try it up here. There we go. Okay. Now we're gonna pop our piston out. Interesting. So this piston, a lot of pistons, there's our piece of zip strip. Again, super sticky, super nasty. A lot of pistons, most pistons in Asian engines, which are OS and those, have a different style of skirt. The skirt is not Bardwell skirt, but a piston skirt, where this will be cut out for the exhaust port and things like that. This one does not. It's solid, and it has a head. Almost looks like a ringed head, but there's no ring. So that's nice. Okie dokie. So now what's next? So now what we're going to do, we're going to pull off this circlip, E-clip, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully not lose it in the process. There we go. That. Boop. All right. And we're going to pull off our clutch housing washers first. And you want to be careful doing this because you want to make sure you remember the orientation and how many of these little washer dudes there are, because that is integral to your spacing. Okay, so we're going to pop that one off. I'm going to put them up here on the shelf. Looks like there's only, is that only one? Interesting. Yep. There's the bearing. Okay. So now what we're going to try to do, without fucking up our bell gear too much, we have to figure out what's going on. Ah, it's a sleeve. Okay. All right. Let me examine this a little bit. I'll be right back. All right, like I said, the Italian engine is a little bit different than the Japanese ones. So it's kind of a learning experience for me too. So what I had to do was pull this sleeve. How I did that, put a little bit of oil on it just to kind of free it up, and it did slide up and down a little bit. Then I did the old bearing popper trick. So what you do with the bearing popper trick, you take 2 flat-bladed screwdrivers and you put them under this lip like this, and then you pop them up at an even stroke like that, and it pulls up. Bam! And that is actually a fucking bearing. Wow. I thought that was something else. So we're going to put that up there with the washer. Hopefully I won't lose it before this is over. And the clutch housing should come right off. Look at that. Pretty. Very nice. Okay. Clutch is in good shape. Spur gear's in good shape. Nice. Now here's our clutch shoes with no spring. Interesting. I have never seen that. Usually there's some springs that keep these from flipping out, but this must be a high-speed clutch because there's not even a place for a spring. Interesting. I've never seen that. So we're going to take this clutch shoes off. Now we've got a bearing here. It's going to be equally painful to get off. There we go. Slide that one up here too. All right. Then what we have to do is we have to pop this off. We are going to use a socket for that. Ah, wow, that was luck. And then how we do this, ratchet. And since this is a small engine, I might get away with just a good old-fashioned pliers. Let's see. Might have to use a channel lock. Nope, perfect. Okay, just grabbing onto the flywheel. Everything on this thing feels like it's got a little bit of hot glue on it. It's just nasty. So we're gonna, now, popping a flywheel. A lot of people use flywheel pullers. And again, I usually use, hang on a second, the bearing popper trick, and it usually works. So we're going to put our screwdrivers in here, okay? Equal diameter. Okay, we're going to pop. Might need a different screwdriver. Oh, there we go. So I just went like this. Those are some shitty screwdrivers. And there's your flywheel. I did not have to do fuck all nothing with a flywheel puller. Nice. So look at the grime, look at the nastiness. Now there's our tapered collet. We need to get that off too. That one's going to be tricky. For that, we're going to try using a razor blade because you can see right here. Let's see, there we go. It's getting gum off. Now, it probably would have been in my benefit to soak this engine, like I said, but fuck it. So, next thing we got to do, we are free to pop the crankshaft out. Hopefully. Hopefully. Let's see. The kids are sleeping, so I don't want to make too much of a mess or noise. Let's see. Should use a dead blow mallet. Something a little bit heavier. Let me work it out. All right. When in doubt, use a dead blow mallet. There we go. Soft end, hard end. Ah, fucking hurts. All right. I'm going to do this on the concrete so it's not as loud. Hang on. Would have loved to have done that on video, but I didn't want to wake up the kids. So I just basically put this on a wooden block and tapped it out on the concrete. So we had a little bit more firm of a surface. Push it the rest of the way through, if possible. Oh, come on. That's going to be a bitch. See, what we're doing is we got that slime. And you got to be careful, too, because you don't want to fuck up your bearing. Right? So, let's see. What could we use? Improvising at its best level. Almost there, kids. Almost there. So, lift that thing on. Cool. Usually what I would do, and that's what we're going to do, take a Phillips, put it against the head. You don't want to fuck up your threads. It's hard to do with, because you got to keep it off of the, got to keep it off the bench. Like this. Painful to watch. Very difficult with only one hand to do this. I have a vise. I could pop this in there. But realistically, you just need a punch. I've got a punch. Hang on. You know, the really nice thing about doing videos for you guys is the fact that when you talk your way through something, it helps you become obvious. And it's like, oh, a punch would be great for that. No shit, use a punch, dumbass. So there we go. Look at the glue and the goo. Very, very nasty. So there's that. There is our case. The bearings feel like shit, but they only feel like shit because of the goo. All right. Now, to remove the goo. This doesn't even need degooed, so I'm not even gonna, that's gonna bug me. So what we're gonna do now, with this guy, is very gently, I should be using bigger pliers, but that's okay. Remove the glow plug. There we go. All right. Don't lose the glow plug ring. That is a seal. If you lose that, you need to put a new one in. So there we go. Just gotta make sure we don't lose the shims in the cleaning process. So there's the bits and bobs. So let's clean this mess up. That's my way of cleaning up. What do we got? We got our crankcase. We're not pulling the bearings because I know the bearings are good because I could feel by the way it rotated, even with the goo. I've been working on motorcycles, engines, robots, and shit all my life. I know what a bad bearing feels like. These are fine. They just need degooed. Here's our back cover for the crankshaft, or the crankcase, which is very, very sticky. See that? Very bad. And then we've got our head, which we've got to be sure not to lose. That's shim. We got our piston. Again, very gooey. Our sleeve. Our clutch bell over there. Our crankshaft. We're going to go ahead and scrub that up as well. Clutch shoes we're going to do by hand. The tapered collet we'll do by hand. And that doesn't even need anything. So what we're going to do now, and we also have our carburetor. Let's not forget that. Where the hell is that thing? Shit, better find that. All right. Not important. It's just a carb. Shit, it's in this mess somewhere. I'll find it. Oh, and our head, too. Yeah, I'm not very organized. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean this bowl out. This is how I do it. I know guys that are brilliant Nitro Engine guys are going to say, oh, it's not how I do it like this. Well, do it that way then. Everybody, like I said, has an opinion and all that. So we're going to take all of this stuff. We're going to put it in here. The only thing to be careful of, I'm going to do this separately because I don't want to fuck up that shim. Throw the head in there too. And the carburetor we're going to do separately as well. We're going to use good old-fashioned denatured alcohol. Get it at Lowe's for 15 bucks a gallon. Good stuff. Evaporates fast. Bearing safe. I would not use acetone. The only reason I wouldn't use acetone is because it'll fuck up your bearing seals if your bearings have seals. So we're going to let these sit for a second. Oh, fuck's that? It's going to bother me. Where's that carburetor? It's important. Damn it. See? This is why you shouldn't do videos this fucking late. That's all right. It's like the fourth video I've done today. We're going to throw the header in there as well. Scrub that around. Ah, there she is. There she is. So we're going to soak this too in its own cup. All right. Denatured alcohol is not going to fuck up the seals or anything else in the carb. Now, while this is soaking, let's do the carb real quick. we're going to take a cup and we're going to pull out the high-speed needle, and we're going to pull out the low-speed needle, and we're going to pull out the idle adjustment screw, and then that's going to release the carb sleeve, okay? So this is very, very simple. Counterclockwise. It's not rocket science, all right? And what I'd like to do is bolt this thing up into a test stand and fire it up for you guys when we're done. I don't have a car to put it in yet. Maybe we'll save it. I don't know. We'll see. There is a little spring there on the idle adjustment screw. The idle adjustment screw will then let you pull the slide carb out. Well, it's not a slide carb. This is a rotary barrel carb. But it'll eliminate that. The idle adjustment screw basically locks into this groove here, so you can set your 0.7 or 1 millimeter idle setting. That's good. Then we've got this spring, which does not need, well, and note how you take stuff apart. This spring, the wide part is facing this way, the narrow part is facing that way, and hopefully someday maybe I can get it out. See that there? We will do that, but we're going to do it separately. That is it. I'm going to leave the banjo fitting on there because there's seals on there that I don't even want to fuck with. And we need to remove the low-speed needle, which is in the carb barrel. Ooh, this one's got a locker on it. Damn it. Ow. Gooey. There we go. Okay. Ah, you son of a bitch. So we're going to have to pull this out. Very good. Very good. Good. Very good. Very good. We're not going to put the spring in there, but I will clean that spring. But, oh, come on. There we go. We're going to let this guy soak on his own because I don't want, the carb's probably going to have a lot less goo in it than that fucking engine. Okay? So we're going to let this soak over here. The next thing we're going to need is, where are they? My paper towels. There they are. All right, so how I do this. Now, this has been soaking for a few minutes. See how nasty that alcohol is? It's very gross. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sit down because I've got such a damn mess here. All right. We're going to start off with the easy stuff first. I'm just going to take a toothbrush, clean this up. No big deal. Very, very simple. This is a flywheel. I'm not going to get too anal about it. Not a big deal. It's going to be shit. It's going to be dirty in 30 seconds anyway. Now I got to go find another toothbrush. Maybe I'll steal smoking hot wipes. That's okay. We'll do it this way. All right. The head was in very good shape. Notice there's not even dirt in the fins. So we're just going to give this a quick. Yeah, no big deal. All right, now the sleeve. This engine, by my standards, for a used engine, is exceptionally good, exceptionally clean. I've taken engines apart that were so fucking bad, guys. It's just, it took me, what was it, 2 or 3 hours the other day just to get the one apart. This one's gotten apart really well. So what I'm going to do with the sleeve now, another paper towel, and I'm going to go over it like this. Just make sure it's nice and clean. We're going to inspect the inside. Looks like the wear is very good. No gouges, no gore, no nothing. Clutch bell, didn't even need anything. It's all right. Crankshaft was pretty gross. Now, something you really want to be careful of with the crankshaft is you want to get this gap very clean, because what that gap does, that is where, there goes my roto twister. More alcohol in it. Oh, well. What that gap does is that sucks in. See the hole in the right there? So if we take a light and shine it through there, see that? Your air-fuel mixture actually travels through the crankshaft and out that hole into the head, into the cylinder. So you want this to be pretty fucking clean. Usually, if this were really bad, this has just got a bunch of fucking nasty slime on it. But if this were really bad, I'd be using pipe cleaners and things like that. So, and we're going to wipe all this down with oil when we're done too. All right, there's that. Here's our crank back. And just soaking this in alcohol, honestly, took 90% of the stuff off. This brush is just precautionary. Pretty. Look at that. Remember how that had that gooey, sticky shit on there? Piston, same principle. Gently. Don't be too tough with it, but again, nice and clean. Pretty. Denatured alcohol is the shit. As for the header, it's just a deslime it. It's not really, I don't care about this. There's not too much garbage in there. This engine does not look like it has a lot of hours on it. That's a good thing. Now for the crank. The crank's a little bit different. Now those bearings feel 100 times better already. But we're gonna go ahead. I have a wire brush too that I use, but this does not need wire brushing at all. Okay? So we're just cleaning this guy up. But you know, you can do this any way you want. If you can find some test tube brushes work great. You name it. Pipe cleaners are almost a must. And I'm a pipe collector, some of you may know. I have a china cabinet full of pipes from all over the world, smoking pipes. And I used to have loads of pipe cleaners, and then I quit smoking. So, but actually the best pipe cleaners to use for cleaning engine debris, cleaning ports, things like that, are actually the ones from Hobby Lobby. Those craft ones, because they're really, really wide, and you can just, they'll pull out tons of stuff. Now, this thing does not really have globs of goo in it, so I'm not going to get too crazy about it. Okay, bam, done. Now, we're going to go ahead and reassemble this guy. We're going to wipe everything down nice and clean. And you don't need to see me do that. I don't want this video to be 6 hours long. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go through and just make sure all the nooks and crannies are clean. Look at that. Pretty. Very, very nice. Okay. And we're going to make sure the head is good. Nice. No residue. No slime. Very good. Yeah, I could have done a better job in there. All right, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, dry them off, and then we'll come back and reassemble. And we are back. So I did clean this separately, which is our head, our true head that goes in. Everything's copacetic. So I'll clean the clutch shoes and this stuff. I'm going to let this taper ring soak while we're talking. That thing's nasty. So now we're going to reassemble. Very, very simple. Is there a right, wrong way to assemble? Yeah, sure. So this little guy is great. I got this at a hobby shop, believe it or not. I don't usually go to hobby shops, but my travels a few weeks back, I was at a hobby shop just looking around, and here's this little tiny thing. And I thought, awesome, we're going to buy that and fill it full of 3-in-1 oil. So when I want to rebuild engines and little things like that, we can put everything where it needs to be. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to oil these bearings, okay? And yes, you're going to see me using a lot. That's okay. You want this thing because this thing's going to be restarting. Not a new break-in necessarily, because this is not a rebuild. A rebuild would be replacing the bearings and replacing the sleeve and replacing the piston. Now, notice how easy that went in, and I had to beat it out before. We're going to make sure it's, hey, there's my wire brush. We're going to have to make sure that it's seated. So we're going to take something plastic here. Yep, it's good. All right. So, feels really smooth, really nice, okay? The next thing we're going to put in is the piston. So we're going to oil this up. This thing's going to smoke like a stove on fire when I start it, but that's okay. I'm going to bring it down to bottom dead center. We're going to slide the piston in. I'm going to crank it back up, just like that. We're going to take our needle nose pliers. I really should have cleaned up this mess. You guys should see this. It's fucking terrible. That's okay. I'll do it tomorrow. And we're going to do this. Very, very nice. A well-made engine. You guys want to do it right. You want to spend a couple bucks. Put in a Nova Rossi. Very fucking sweet. So now we're going to put in our sleeve. Again, Ducati of Nitro engines. We're going to oil everything. Okay. Now, what I do with these, you want to try to line it up with the clock mark, which is that pin right there, and that little gap right there, because I don't want to have to twist it much when I put it in. I usually do it upside down and just gently make sure the piston goes in it. Gently slide it in. Ah, look at that. Now, you know you've done a good job when you can rotate the engine, or the crank, and the piston, and the sleeve comes up. See that? That's perfect. That means you got all the goo out of there. That also means that you've got good taper compression, because these two-stroke engines, these little two-stroke engines have a taper compression. That's why you have to break them in like that. The cylinder sleeve is tapered at the top. It's very, very precision CNC milled. And what happens is when you're breaking in an engine, the reason you run like a tank or two at idle, and then you run a couple other tanks at half and a couple more tanks at 3/4, is because you want to slowly basically hone or wear that cylinder sleeve in relative to the shape of the piston. Because what happens is when this thing turns around, remember that slot that was in the crankshaft? I said it sucked in you can see it right here when I rotate. There it is. There's the hole. Your carburetor goes here. It sucks in the air-fuel mixture through the crankshaft into the crankcase. And then when the piston comes down for its compression, or its draw stroke, it sucks in the fuel through the venturi, or the vents, comes up, does a compression, boom, and it explodes, right? So it's very important that you don't have scarring inside the cylinder sleeve, scarring on the piston walls. Yeah, very, very, very important. So that's good enough for that. Now, man, this is moving right along. So we're going to take our back case. Yep, oil more. Notice there's an O-ring here. Anytime you use alcohol, make sure you get a good coating of oil on. Let's see, is there a right way or wrong way? Yep, like that. Okay, you want to make sure you get a good coating of oil on those O-rings before you put it back together. The reason being that alcohol is going to suck the shit out of the moisture, and bam, you're screwed. So now, actually, you know what I'm going to do to make this even better? We're going to take this, dry it really, really well. Realistically, I should take a little bit of alcohol. We're going to clean that. We're going to do the same thing with the flange, a little bit. Then, where to go? Where to go? Shit, be right back. All right, one thing that is not a bad thing to do is to take, I use this. This is high temperature gasket maker, which I called back in the motorcycle days, RTV. Okay, and we're going to take a little bit of RTV, and I'm going to I should be applying this better, but I'm going to smooth it out with my finger. Okay, just a little bit. Now, the trick is you just want to get a nice... This is going to really help your compression. I do this with every engine, honestly. Now, we're going to take our back end. You do not want to get too much in there. Bad things will happen. You don't want to goo up your engine. We're going to take our 4 back bolts that we had, screws, sorry, technically these are screws, and I thread lock the shit out of everything on a Nitro engine. These things vibrate like crazy, so you want to make sure nothing's going to fall off while you're running down the road. All right, get everybody started. I've been wanting to do this to this engine since the day I pulled it out of that car. And it's like, oh, we're going to do a video with this. It'll be cool. For all you guys that are quad people, don't give a fuck about Nitro, here you go. And for those of you that have tuned into my channel because you saw Nitro, sorry about your luck. This is how I always am. So, the trick with thread lock You do not have to torque the living shit out of it. These are steel screws going into an aluminum casting. The steel's going to win. Okay, so what you want to do, go in a cross pattern, torque, torque. Okay, do all four. And whenever you do thread lock on anything, you should give it a good, we're going to wipe this off, make it pretty. You should give it a good half an hour before you run vibration with it. You know, like say you're putting it on engine mounts or something in your car, your boat, whatever this process is. Give it half an hour. That usually is good enough. Now I'm going to take my alcohol brush and clean up this edge because I do not like, oh, damn it, my road twister is going to be gross. I do not like the look of a messy gasket. Okay. Pretty. Okay. So never, never, never use gasket material on the head itself. So here's our shimmed head. We're going to put this back down. Perfect, just like that. Line up your holes, and then we're going to put our head back on. Now, we're going to put our screws through first, and I'm not going to do this on video. It's droning on here. So, again, and I'm sloppy with the thread lock because a lot of guys are like, oh, just put on one little drop. I do it this way for speed, okay? So I'm going to slide those through the head, and then we're going to tighten up those screws 1, 2, 3, 4 as well, just like a tire, okay? I'm going to do that, be right back. All right. Y'all didn't need to see that. So there we go. Head is back on. And remember, when you're screwing a cooling head back on, you can see through the vanes to where your screws are, and it just helps you line everything back up. We are going to slide the glow plug back in. This one's actually a different glow plug. What did I do with the other one? Oh, well, doesn't matter. There it is. I'm going to use the old one. It's okay. It seems to work. I'm not going to clean it. I don't care. Not a big deal. Never going to see it. So we're going to take it like this. Do not use thread lock on a glow plug. Upside down. Gently snug. Great compression. I can't even turn it over without the flywheel. Boom, we like that. So we're going to work on the carb now because I want to get the carb on before I put the flywheel back on. Not necessary, but it just makes life a little easier. So here we go. Usually you do not want thread lock getting on your carb, dummy, okay? Usually just soaking a carb will be enough to clear out jets, clear out ports. Sorry, you guys can't see this. Okay. How many of you neat freaks is this bothering? I'm so fucking messy. This desk is like, oh, God. All right. So with this, yeah, we got a little bit of goo. Need to try to get this off. We'll probably use a radius. See, he's got the original O-ring on there too, so I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. I am not going to even brush this. This is a rubber seal, by the way. I could have taken off, but did not. It's all good. I don't think we need to brush it. One thing that I do is I will blow through the banjo, and I'll blow through this. This is your gas inlet. This is your high-speed needle, or your what they call the main needle. And I do blow through those just to make sure that before I put this guy together, there's no nasties. Okay, that's some good RTV this guy used. Shit did not come off. Oh well, that's okay. I'm going to leave it off. So then we're going to take our carb slide. See that? Looks good. Yeah, I don't think we need to brush this at all. And there we go. See, this throttle ring is going to go over that. Bada bang. So I am going to clean the needles, and I clean them in my fingers. When it's something like this, see the schmutz coming off there? There we go. All good. So we're going to take this, slide it back into here. We're going to seat it. Actually, I forgot to put this through there, so My bad. Rebuilding an engine at 11 o'clock at night. Oh well, it's all fun, right? And that just goes in there by friction. We're going to take our handy dandy little wrench. Love this thing. I've had it since I was a kid, but it works. Okay. Hand tight, good enough. We're going to seat this screw, low speed needle, so it's flush. Okay. Then we're going to take our idle adjustment screw. No fuel goes through the idle adjustment screw, so it's not really as crucial as the other two. And we're just gonna get it threaded like that. We're gonna take our low speed needle, or I'm sorry, our high speed needle, and this goes into the banjo fitting. And we're gonna slide that in there. Now, normally for most engines, if you take the high-speed needle flush, like that, a little bit more, and low-speed needle flush here, that is usually factory settings, okay? Or a good place to start anyway. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna slide this in. We're gonna put some oil on it. Okay. Some oil. We're going to slide it in here, and you see that groove right there? That's going to bug me. I got some dirt in there. This carb is in great shape. That's why I didn't really spend a ton of time on it. This groove is where this idle adjustment screw rides. So you want to gently screw this in by hand. There we go. Bam. Look at that. Okay? Perfect. So we're going to open this up to about 1 mil. Rev high. Usually on a nitro engine for a car or even a boat, 0.7 to a mil is usually good. What the hell is that? Okay. Good enough. Bam. Beautiful. So next thing we want to do is, I'm going to give this a shot getting this off. Let me be right back. All right, what I've done is I took a flat blade screwdriver, went around it like this to get my original O-ring loose. Take that off. Now I can scrub the shit out of this thing with the brush and not really worry about screwing anything up, because I don't want to damage that O-ring. Now, if you do damage that O-ring, it's really not the end of the world if you're going to use RTV to reseat it. So let me go ahead and clean this up. We'll put the O-ring back on. We're going to put a little bit of schmutz in here. Boom, be right back. Okay, so we got the majority of it off. So we're going to clean this up. We're going to put our O-ring back on. Like I said, don't even really need this now, because I am going to put some RTV on here. That's okay. Okay, but I'm actually going to put the RTV around the engine. Be careful not to get it in the engine. We're going to go on the outside. Don't worry about making a mess. You can always clean it up. All right. I'm going to clean that out. Hard to do. Okay. Then we're going to take a piece of paper towel on a Phillips screwdriver. Make sure there's nothing in there. Perfect. Then we're going to take a little bit of oil, which kind of goes, you know, it can screw up the gasket a little bit, but we have the O-ring. It shouldn't be too terribly bad. So now, hopefully it goes in better than it came out. It's not, you bitch. There we go. Wow, I have never had a carb fit that tight. And it's not bad. It just means it's really, really good machining. It's like, wow. And I think the person that had it before me maybe scarred it a little bit. Now, yeah. Is that how I want it? I want the other way. It depends on what carb. You can put the carb on front ways or back ways. I'm going to do it the other way because I think my throttle mech for the one I'm going to put this in is going to be facing the other way. So I think, there we go. I'm going to do it this way. Yeah, that makes your needle harder to adjust, but that's okay. See our low speed needle, or our idle needle? I can always pop it out later. Okay, just knock my banjo loose. It can be crooked, it can be any way you want it. Okay. I'm going to leave it a little crooked like this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit. Oh, I didn't put the spring back in the carburetor. You guys fucking screwed me on that. Remember the spring? Yeah, that was my fault. Let's get this back out. Wow. There we go. Remember this spring? It went this way. Yeah. And then put that back. Hey, better to remember now than later, right? So, go like that. Not the end of the world. Perfect. Okie dokie. So, got good compression. Our carburetor is almost back to business. We're going to take our carb nut, thread lock. Again, you know, when in doubt, thread lock. Just don't use red, you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up off camera. Be right back. All right, so carburetor taper nut is tightened on there. They do recommend, or people recommend, that you push down on the carb while you're tightening this. This is usually a hex screw, or even this taper lock nut. This one's so tight, I didn't really have to do that. So, just a tip. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our tapered collet back on, which I've only soaked it. I have not put anything else into it. Didn't scrub it, none of that stuff. It's always concerning when there's a bearing there. But anyway, so I'm going to put this over this. Perfect. It should seat against the bearing. Very, very nice. Now, the next thing we're going to do is put our flywheel on. All right. And what you're going to do is push on that a little bit. And it will automatically draw down and tighten up once we thread our shaft nut back on. We are almost done with this guy. Bam. Look at that. Okay. So first, I'm just going to gently pull it in. Yep, great compression, awesome. One thing I always do is I hold the engine up to my ear and I turn this, and if I hear a sound out of it, then I know the shim is fucked up or something like that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to grab our trusty pliers. Where the fuck they went? Right in front of your face. And we're going to tighten this back up. Again, this is a taper lock. Doesn't have to, you don't have to torque the fuck out of it. Just gentle. Boop. Just like that. Okay. Beautimous. All right. Now, as for the clutch shoes, I usually don't recommend people clean these with oil, like WD-40, things that nature. I will usually just dip them in a little bit of alcohol, get any of the jelly off of them. Because these, if you put a ton of oil on them, won't you work like a clutch, at least not very well. So I'm just, you don't have to get over anal with these. I'm just doing this with a paper towel. Not a big deal. Just get the grime out. So something you have to remember with a nitro engine in a car, you're going, if you're facing the engine counterclockwise, you're spinning. So you want these guys to fly out this way, right? So always going to the right. The shoe's going to the right. Like that, okay? Now we are going to put this back together. But remember, we've got bearings. So we're going to put the lower bearing in first. We're going to douse it up with oil. Not douse it, but you know, good enough. We're going to set it in there. If you did your job right, everything should go in much easier than it came off, right? There we go. There's our clutch bell. We're gonna do the same thing with this guy. And again, with Japanese motors and things like that, usually they have a fuck ton of washers and all sorts of crazy shit on the end of here. This one didn't really. It only had one. So, bam, just like that. Slap our washer on there. Bam, just like that. Take our circlip, or E-clip, whatever you want to call it. There is a difference, by the way. There we go. Make sure that's seated, which it should be. Yep, okay. Look at that. That's how a clutch bell should sound. Spins forever, bearings are good. Look at that. Beautimous, beautimous. I am going to scrub this RTV seam here. I always call it RTV, but the silicone gasket crap I put on here. Just make it a little bit neater. Not a big deal. Okay. Now, the next thing I do not know when I'm going to be running this again. I might get a chance to put it on a test bench, test stand, I should say. I don't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that piston down. And if you look in here, our intake stroke, see that you can, I don't know if you guys can see that, but you see the hole back there. And then if I put the piston up, the hole goes away. We're going to pull it down so it's like that. Usually I actually use WD-40 for this, but we're going to squirt a fuck ton of oil in here. Then I'm going to squirt a fuck ton of oil in the head. And yes, this is going to be a bear to start. Ooh, hydrolocked. Nice. That's okay. Watch. Here's how I get rid of a hydrolock. There we go. Okay. Hydrolock is gone. So hydrolock is when you get a hydraulic lock. You get too much fuel or oil or nitro, whatever you're using, and it goes up and the piston literally can't compress it, and you'll actually break your connecting rod. But by the time I put this in a car and run it, that's going to be long gone. No big deal. So, and it is gone. I just turned it upside down. There you go. Listen to that. Beautiful. Very, very nice. So where did our, there it is. I am actually going to store it with the header on, okay? The reason I'm going to do that is it just keeps schmutz out of the engine. And you really should cover your carburetor as well. I think people take this stuff a little bit too extreme. They just get, oh, I gotta do this, gotta do that, it's gotta be perfect. Yeah. Maybe if you're a racer. I'm not a racer. I will stick a little piece of foam or something over that carb intake just to, you know, why invite problems? Just went through all this fucking work. I don't want to do it again. So we're going to take a little piece of paper towel. Actually, I've got foam. Always save your foam. Just a little bit. And we're going to stuff it in there because we got a nice, freshly rebuilt, not rebuilt, super cleaned motor. Look at that. Damn, beautiful. I hope this helped you out, guys. For those of you that want to really tear down an engine or you need to fix an engine, you can pretty much use this video because you got to see how everything was torn apart, put back together, blah, 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 blah. If you guys have any questions at all, please give me a shout. Hopefully doing the wing video tomorrow. So until the next time, kids, keep shiny side up. Bam.